shared. And just a week ago, an embarrassing leak to the Guardian newspaper of what appear to be her emails, showing her buying jewellery and furnishings, whilst her husband's government brutalised the opposition. Asma el Assad's British citizenship means she cannot be barred from the United Kingdom. But Britain's Foreign Secretary said that he thought it unlikely she would try.
Given that we are imposing an asset freeze on all of these individuals and a travel ban on other members of the same family and the regime, we're not expecting Mrs. Assad to try to travel to the United Kingdom.
As the revolt against her husband raged, Asma el Assad defended him. Now she is paying some price for her loyalty. Johnny Diamond, BBC News.
Well, we're joined now by Ruba Salih, who specialises in gender and the Middle East studies at the University of London. Ruba Salih, do you suppose this was the right move by the European Union? In your view, is it going to have any impact?
Well, I think it's an expected move in the sense that I believe that this was a reaction to the more outrage that the emails that were made available, made public recently, speaking about Asma spending thousands of dollars and euros in commodities while the population is dying and being tortured and being kidnapped and being suffering all over the country. Of course, I mean, this is an expected resolution that even came a bit too late, I believe.
But do you think that just because somebody goes shopping that abroad, you know, online, that they should have some kind of sanctions imposed against them? I mean, there's no suggestion of complicity on her part, is there, in the violence that's taking place in Syria?
Yes, I think you are right in that. But at the same time, she is the wife of the president, and I think that the very fact that she never distanced herself from what was going on, at least publicly, and publicly what she did was actually to stand next to her husband, which is also quite expectable, standing next to her husband, suggesting even recently that this is where she should stand, and that her husband is the president of all Syria, not just of a faction. And so that was the position she adopted, that was the public position she adopted, and I think that in a way the fact that she's the wife of the president puts her in the same position as the other members of the Assad family and as the other officials.
But I mean, if you take that and extend that argument, I mean, should the wives of mafia bosses or the wives of gangsters also be found to be complicit in any crimes that their husbands might be found guilty or not of?
I think we are not, I mean, the public sphere, the media, and even the EU sanctions are not supposed to decide, you know, who's guilty and who's not. But I think they are tools for making pressure for the regime to step down, to take, you know, further or any, in fact, step towards meeting what the population is asking. So I don't think we are talking at the level of guilt yet with the sanctions, but we are talking at the level of a public figure, because ultimately the wife of the president is a public figure who didn't distance herself.
Very briefly, you say the wife of the president is a public figure, but actually when you look at first ladies in Middle Eastern history, a lot of them actually, you hardly see them. Hafiz al-Assad's wife, I don't think anybody knew what she looked like practically. I mean, these are very strongly patriarchal societies. The women tend to perhaps not have such a dominant public role. Is it right to punish them in any way if they just simply support their husbands? They may have no choice other than to do so.
Yes, I think I take your point, and it's true that I agree with the fact that they may not have any other option, in fact. But I wouldn't equate the first ladies with the victims of a patriarchal societies. Ultimately, they represent the elite. They're very highly educated, and they are women who actually are very much often in that position because of the way they look, the performances they display, their modernity, their progress. They almost serve the aim of intermediaries between the Arab regimes, the Arab governments, and the West and Europe. And so, in a way, I don't see this as a process that would victimize Asma el Assad. Whereas I totally agree with you that these are patriarchal societies and we should be very careful not to victimize women in these patriarchal societies, not to sort of increase their oppression. But I don't think this would apply to Asma el Assad and to the sanctions that have been issued towards her.
Ruba Salih, thanks very much indeed for talking to us.
Thank you.
Now, the case of Trayvon Martin, a 17-year-old youth shot dead in Florida by a neighborhood watchman, is now echoing around the White House. Trayvon's death has led to a heated debate in the United States about race and self-defense laws. Today, President Obama added his voice to the growing sense of unease.